Hi everyone, here's what's bothering me today. I know everyone wants to talk about Trump and the debates, and I'll probably do something on that tomorrow, but I want to talk about something with regards to the Armenia-Azerbaijan conflict that's currently happening, and a pretty important part of it that is not being talked about, at least not yet, but it's something that more people should be aware of. So, really quick, some background history. This whole problem started between the issue of the Nagorno-Karabakh region in Azerbaijan. It's basically an exclave, but it's entirely ethnically Armenian. And so, of course, the reason why this happened in the first place is because the Soviets, to try and pit some of the fringes of their empire together, they messed with the borders so that they had to be the mediator and therefore keep power and leverage in the region. This is why Chechnya and Dagestan are a mess. This is why Georgia has those breakaway republics on its border regions. This is why Armenia and Azerbaijan can't get along. This is why Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, and Kyrgyzstan have a lot of problems dealing with their borders and people moving across them. It's typical of like imperial and then Soviet Russia. Like, this is what happened. So that's the base reason for why this exclave exists. Then let's fast forward to the end of the Soviet Union, and Armenia is independent. Azerbaijan is independent. And that includes Nagorno-Karabakh as part of Azerbaijan, but they wanted to be part of Armenia because, again, everyone in this region is ethnically Armenian. So there was a war. It was pretty bloody, and Armenia pretty much won. They now control most of the Nagorno-Karabakh region, and they also control militarily occupied areas surrounding it in what is now occupied southwestern Azerbaijan. Now, this brings us to today and the conflict because it's boiling up again over this. Now, both countries are by no means democratic. They both have strong men pretty much in power, and they always have. Both countries are relatively poor, but Azerbaijan is a bit richer because of oil and gas, and that's what I want to talk about. So, Azerbaijan is a Turkic country, just like Turkey and the Central Asian republics of Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan. And they share a lot of relations with Turkey. And so there's several pipelines, be they for petroleum or natural gas, that flow from Baku, the capital of Azerbaijan, all the way into various parts of Turkey. Usually either on the Black Sea or on the Eastern Mediterranean is where the current terminuses are. Others get fed to like other pipelines that then go into Central and Eastern and Southern Europe. Now, these obviously skirt Armenia because nobody likes Armenia, except for Russia. Russia loves Armenia, and Armenia has still been an entirely faithful Russian satellite since the breakup of the Soviet Union. And this is understandable because Russia finances a lot of things, including the entirety of their oil and gas sector. The largest petroleum state producer in Armenia is Gazprom. It's Gazprom Armenia, but Gazprom is the state monopolizer of oil in the Russian Federation. They basically bought a minority stake in Armenian gas and oil back in the day, and then I think in 2015 they just took over everything. So this means that Armenia and Russia are very much like this. They are buddy-buddy on this. Turkey and Azerbaijan, being two Turkic brothers, both Muslim, both have Turkic heritage from Central Asia, they're very buddy-buddy. So in this crossroads, you have an energy nexus, a ethnic goulash of various different peoples, be they Muslim or Christian. You have lots of really messed up and nonsensical borders, a lot of internal conflict, but no one talks about this because it's kind of the part of the Middle East that no one really seems to want to care about. When we think of Middle East and oil, we think of Saudi Arabia, Iraq, and Iran. There's more to it than that, and Iran does have some relations with Armenia and Azerbaijan, but it's definitely not been as close as the Turkey or Russia relationships. Now, with this in mind, And the fact that these nations sit near the Russian border, and Russia had a war with the nearby Republic of Georgia back in 2008. And Russia is currently being a strongman and trying to make their power plays in the Middle East. This is where I get concerned for all parties involved, because I don't know if Armenia is going to win or if Azerbaijan is going to win, and their different financial backers are going to try and tip the scales one way or the other. But I'm concerned for this entire region, because not only is it an energy nexus, but this means that Russia and Turkey, being led again by strongmen, want to use their junior partners to make power plays, perhaps not just in their own interests, but it might result in conflict against themselves. And yet Russia and Turkey have been trying to be friends for a while. Now, this doesn't mean there's going to be, it's going to spiral out into a World War I kind of thing. That's not happening. But what may happen is a crippling of energy for Eastern and Southern Europe, which would then foster an even greater reliance on Russian energy. This could potentially destabilize the broader region, only adding to the refugee crisis that Turkey is currently having to deal with. And Turkey has threatened before that if Europe pesters them too much, they're just going to open the floodgates and let millions of refugees into Europe willy-nilly. And then there's also the fact that during a pandemic, when people are unemployed, and while this hasn't affected the oil market yet, if it does, and sure, people might be happy that the price of oil goes up, but the people who rely on low prices while they're not working, they're going to hate that. And even though America doesn't use a drop of Armenian or Russian or Azeri oil and gas, it participates in the same global market. Thanks, capitalism. And so if that continues, then that affects prices in America, where people are already feeling the pinch. And if all of this is connected and makes life more difficult for Americans, Azerbaijanis, Armenians, Turks, various other peoples in Europe, and perhaps even refugees across the Middle East, that's a problem. That's yet another humanitarian crisis waiting to boil over. And yet we haven't dealt with Yemen, which is another huge humanitarian crisis that would take billions of dollars to fix, but we're not fixing it because it's in a part of the Middle East that we just don't really care about, sadly. And so I'm concerned that while this doesn't spill over into a larger conflict, I'm very concerned that this is yet another straw or feather that breaks the camel of capitalism's back during a pandemic when people are already suffering and having just too many problems to deal with. And so the fact that we aren't paying enough attention to this conflict, who's involved, and what's at stake is what's bothering me today.